The Da Vinci Code. Of course, it is the best-selling book. It's also an upcoming movie that calls Jesus a fake, Christianity a sham, and the Catholic Church an organization that's run by a cult. Maybe that's why Hollywood's so excited about its premiere. Now they're rolling out the red carpet preparing for its release. And the faithful look like they're ready to fight back. Now, here's a look at a clip that was released today from the Da Vinci Code, the movie. Take a look.
No, it doesn't say that.
Is it another anagram? Can you break it? Professor Harry.
Demons, omens, codes, monks, rocks.
Madonna up the rocks.
Da Vinci.
That's Tom Hanks, I'll tell you what. Let me bring in right now Pia Di Salini. She's from the Catholic Outreach Group that put out the book, The Da Vinci Deception. And Brian Finnert from Opus Dei, the so-called cult in the Da Vinci Code. And Ellen Johnson, president of American Atheists. You know, Pia, we were just talking about how interesting it was that we have this news about how one little cartoon causes half the Muslim world to erupt, and yet, hold up the Da Vinci Code. This book, we've both read this book.
Exactly.
This book is filled with statements that say Jesus was a farce, Christianity is a lie, the Catholic Church is a violent organization, and yet we read it and just go on. Very interesting. Do you think Christians and Catholics are going to become more inflamed when this book becomes a movie?
Well, it depends. I mean, one of the problems, I think, is that so many Christians are somewhat uninformed about their faith. They don't know the truths of their faith can be easily challenged. And I think this is really a call to action for Christians to learn more about Christianity, be able to defend it. Because, you know, the Muslims, they can defend their faith, even if we don't agree with the tactics. But we need to understand the basics.
I had so many people that read the Da Vinci Code before I did. I didn't read it until like 2 years in. And they'd say, is all that stuff true?
That's right, it's a good read. It's a good read, and it draws you in.
And at the beginning, Dan Brown lies by saying, this is the truth.
Well, his facts. I mean, I brought this simply because it's great. The first page with his facts, every one of them is inaccurate. Yet that's how he starts the book.
So what is it that makes this book so popular? Do you think, again, the Muslims are fighting against a blasphemous cartoon in a way that, of course, I find just completely offensive?
Absolutely.
But do you think that's the Da Vinci Code is a movie that Christians and Catholics especially should boycott?
Yeah, absolutely. More importantly, I think they should be ready to respond to it by informing themselves and knowing the subject matter better. That's the real key. I think it's going to be a natural flop amongst practicing Christians, people who are active in their faith, simply because it is so offensive to their core beliefs. But
and it's going to be hard for them to, like you said, sit through something that calls Christianity a lie.
They're not going to respond to this like they did to the Passion. We're not going to see the evangelical churches buying out theaters so that they can take their members. And I think that's where Hollywood is going to get a real wide awakening, a big surprise.
Now, Pia, let's read what the hardcover edition said. In the preface, the first page begins with the bold-faced word fact, quoting the final paragraph. All descriptions of artwork, architecture, documents, and secret rituals in this novel are accurate. Brian, let me bring you in there. After reading that, I thought that members of your organization were albinos who punished themselves and who set out to murder moderate practicing Catholics. What are you going to do to inform Americans the truth about your organization?
Well, what we're doing is taking advantage of every media opportunity that we can get to talk about what the real Opus Dei is. And obviously there are no murderous albino monks in Opus Dei, no monks in Opus Dei, albino or otherwise. The whole point of Opus Dei is an institution within the church with the purpose of helping people come closer to God in their work and daily lives, searching for that and not searching for the Holy Grail. So our whole purpose is to take advantage of media opportunities like that. And we also have a number of special projects that we have planned in order to respond to all the attention that we've received.
Ellen, let me bring you in here, President of American Atheists. Ellen, I certainly respect your right to be an atheist. I'm sure you respect my right to believe the way I believe as a Christian. Could you understand why a lot of Christians would be very offended by a book and a movie that calls their faith a sham?
Yes. I think, however, that the Roman Catholic Church has a lot more other issues that they have to worry about, which are far more important than this one. People are not following the dogmas of the Catholic Church. Their churches are closing. Their schools are closing. They're losing out in so many areas. This is really not, one of the bigger problems that they have to deal with. But I applaud the way your other two guests are handling this situation. They have every right to be indignant if they don't like what is in the book. And as long as their indignation does not become intimidation of journalists, authors, and our fellow citizens, then they can be as indignant as they want. Again, you're right when you talk about what's going on in the Muslim world over the Danish cartoons. As long as this is just indignation, that's fine, and I don't have a problem with that.
Ellen, are you and your organization glad that this book is being made into a movie because it does punch holes in the Catholic Church and Christianity?
No. The Catholic Church is really certainly not a transparent organization. If your other two guests are concerned that people might read this book and think that the Catholic Church is a secret organization, that it's trying to cover something up, well, that's not really Dan Brown's fault, because it is a secretive organization that does engage in cover-ups. It's its own worst enemy. It
How's
does
that?
do these things. So how does it engage in cover-ups? And well, look at the sexual crimes committed against our children. And the cover-ups of how the Roman Catholic Church got Nazis out of Europe and out of the country and into South America, and everybody talks about this, and they cover these things up. So it's really you can't point the finger at Dan Brown for the crimes and the problems of the Catholic Church is facing.
Pia, what do you say to that, and say also to the fact that the Da Vinci Code sold a lot of books, which means a lot of people were receptive to this anti-Catholic, anti-Christian message?
Well, I think there are two things to keep in mind. First of all is the climate. I mean, we live in a secularist culture in which it's okay to trounce religion, and that's exactly what happened with the cartoon. And Benedict XVI, I think, set a perfect example. He said, look, that cartoon was not respectful. Of course, the response has not been apt as well. And it really leads to a larger question, and that is, when we have certain rights, we also have certain responsibilities. And what Dan Brown has done with this book is to riddle it with inaccuracies. I mean, he calls the Dead Sea Scrolls, ancient Christian writings, and we all know that they are the writings of a Jewish sect, and they mention nothing about Christianity. Yeah. So, he didn't. These are things that he could have Googled to get the right answer on, and he didn't. And he had a responsibility to do that.
Took artistic license, which is fine.
That's fine.
But don't call it fact at the beginning of the book. So.
Exactly.
Thanks so much, Pia. Greatly appreciate it. Brian, Ellen, thank you all for being with us.